everyone, so today it is my April favourites. I'm going to be trying on all of the things in April that I've loved the most, so a full face of my April favourites. I'll also be giving you updates on all the products I have been trying and why some of them might not have made it into this video. I have got this humongous set of products in front of me, so let's find out which ones of these have made it into my favourites. And if you're new here, hi, my name's Hannah, I'm 47, I'm not a professional, just somebody who loves makeup, loves beauty. I like to share looks, reviews, any news I think you might be interested in, and if you think you'd enjoy this, please do like and subscribe below, it really helps, and if you comment below, that's great too. And my skin, for reference, is fair to light, mostly neutral, leaning on cool, still trying to figure this one out to be honest, as it's changing with age. And I've got combination skin with a slightly oily T-zone. Anyway, let's get on to the video. So starting with my skincare, I tried the new TATCHA SPF this month, and I have actually put my SPF on this morning. I just did it by habit. I keep one next to my sink. This one I do not keep next to my sink, only because it costs so much money. I believe this one was nearly £60. I just tried to look at the price and it's out of stock, so clearly very popular. It is beautiful. I'm keeping this one for special occasions because it's TATCHA and it's expensive. It sits really nicely underneath my makeup. My skin absorbs it very well. It leaves no white cast, so I definitely recommend this one. But I can't say that I prefer it over cheaper brands which I really enjoy, such as Paula's Choice, which is the one I used this morning, and I love the Isntree watery sun gel. So this is good, but I wouldn't say it has to be bought. It's just a nice treat. And now moving on to my primer, I've been using this moisturising cream as my primer recently, the OULAC Henriksen, which is the newly released one to match the eye cream. This is the Banana Bright Instant Glow Moisturizer, and I've tried this underneath powders and foundation, liquid foundation, and had absolutely no problems whatsoever. It's kept my skin moisturised. In fact, I've found that my products have been sitting better on the surface of my skin using this. Now I really like the way it gives me radiance. My skin seems to absorb it very well. I don't get any pilling, it doesn't react to SPF or foundation, which is quite good to be fair, because a lot of products do these days with me. And then I'm using the eye cream to go with it as well. And this also is not affecting anything I put on top, so all of my concealers sit really well when I use this eye cream. I'm just going to blend this out and give this a little bit of time to dry. And I've also been using the OULAC Henriksen correcting stick. I've got this in the shade Banana. Just a little bit of this to correct my purple circles, which I didn't think was working until I filmed with it in my last video, because I did a longer review of this in my last video, and I saw underneath the studio lights that it actually is cancelling out the purple quite nicely, so I will be sticking with this. The eye cream and this corrector stick, they're not new products, it was just the moisturising cream that's new, but they're new to me because I have never tried anything from OULAC Henriksen before, so you can see this is giving me a lovely glowy base. I really like this one, and this on its own, maybe just with a bit of skin tint, gives you a very natural, lovely look, so they're winners for me. So with foundation, I have tried 3 this month. Well, one's a skin tint, and that's the Dolce & Gabbana Blueberry Nutri Tint. Now this one I don't actually like that much, so it will not be going into my favourites. I don't really dislike it. It is a good one. It's a little bit drying. I don't like the way it sits on my nose or on my chin. I have to do a few things to try to fix this with using moisturising products on top. So if you've got dry skin and you've used this, I'd love to know if it works for you, but it's not working too well for me, so this one isn't making it into my favourites. And then I tried the Tom Ford Architecture, and I tried the new updated version of the MAC Cosmetics Studio Fix Fluid. I did actually have a different shade. I went on the MAC website to match it to the shade I have with Tom Ford, and the reason I've done that is because I actually think these two work very well on me, having tried them out more. MAC, I had a little bit of caking on my first review, but when I changed what I had beneath, it seemed to work well. I haven't actually tried it with the OULAC Henriksen. I have tried the Tom Ford, so I'll be interested to see if I do one each side, because Tom Ford probably is my favourite of the two, but the price difference is huge, and I don't think the difference in finish is that great, so I thought it'd be good to see that one today. So my shade with Tom Ford is 0.5 Porcelain, and when I went on the shade finder for MAC, it matched me with N4, so I'll give this a good shake. I'm going to apply these with a beauty blender, a different blender for each side. And I've got 2 pumps in the palm of my hand. This was a trick I saw recently from Pampered Wolf. If you're familiar with her, she's a brilliant beauty creator here on YouTube. And she was showing how when you tap it and really warm it into the palm of your hand, you get a better application. Admittedly, she was using a brush, but I can't see why I can't do this with a sponge. So here is the MAC fluid. Does seem like it's quite a good skin match for me. Now this is definitely my winter skin match, not when I'm wearing tan. I have had tan on recently, so it's slightly faded. If you think my neck colour is not matching my face, that's why. Well, that has gone on beautifully on top of the Olay Henriksen. I'm really impressed with its scream. It really seems to help my product apply very well. No sign of cakiness at all. I'll put a little bit more on the sponge in the area I'd like a bit more coverage. So this should be giving me a matte finish, but this also promises to lock in oils. And when I tested this out, it wasn't particularly oily by the end of the day, but it did give a sort of radiance from beneath. Now obviously with this cream it should give me a bit of radiance from beneath as well. So now with Tom Ford I'll go in on the other side. And I think MAC got it right, didn't they, with matching these shades? They do seem to be absolutely spot on. So there we have the two sides, MAC versus Tom Ford. I think the colour match is spot on. Can you see how straight away there's a lot more radiance coming through on the MAC side? So this is not cancelling out all the radiance, which I actually like, because I do like a bit of radiance to come through. You can see on the Tom Ford side a lot less radiance. I think what I will do with this, rather than post this video tonight, is I will give you an update, because even though this is a favourites video, it's quite good if I give you an 8-hour update on the way these two both look in the evening, so you can see for yourself. Anyway, let's move on to my next favourite. And for concealer, I don't have a new one to try, so I'll just be using my Guerlain concealer, which has been my favourite so far this year. The Guerlain Terracotta in shade 0.5N. And now for setting my under eye, I've got the Pat McGrath in the new pink shade. Now, I wasn't overly impressed with this, as in it doesn't seem particularly different to me to the white. Now, I've used this all month, and what I can say about this is it gives off an awful lot more powder. I really have to be careful with how I apply this. But when I apply it carefully with a brush and I don't go in with a sponge, I have been using a powder puff mostly, sorry, not a sponge. When I use a powder puff, I just feel, even when I dab it on the back of my hand, it just applies too much and it starts to look a little bit more drying and emphasises my lines. But when I go in with this brush, which is the Nikki LaRose BK Beauty N14, which is so good for this, if I just go into the powder and still tap off on the back of my hand, rub it into the back of my hand, and then apply like this, and I'm getting the same blurring effect, setting everything in, and a little bit of brightening. I'm still not convinced that the pink makes an awful lot of difference to the white, so I don't think this is necessary over the white. This is definitely in my favourites because I have been testing it, but I've been happily testing it and I won't be changing it from my desk. I will carry on using this one. But if I was to purchase again, would I purchase this or the white? I don't know actually. Maybe I need to answer that at the end of the year, because I'd maybe switch to the white next month and swap them over, but very close I think. So if you don't have either, maybe it's worth trying this one. The fact that I'm using less might suggest that it will last longer, so, well, it does suggest that, doesn't it? So this is a good one, and the only other setting powder I've tried, which will be coming up later, doesn't work so well under the eyes, so I've gone for this one over that. And now the Too Faced bronzing stick. This is their chocolate smelling bronzing stick, which I really like, and this one is chocolate mousse, and I've been using this one as a contour. I've been really enjoying this. I was expecting to use these more as bronzers, but I've really enjoyed this as a contour underneath powder, as in setting powder I mean. This you can leave it on and it doesn't set, so you have plenty of time to work with this. It does have a strong chocolate smell, which I really like, and it just blends out very easily. And this shade Chocolate Mousse I think is the perfect shade for me. I did get Chocolate Souffle and that's a little bit too warm, although I can use it together in the upper part of the cheek. But I've been using this and then going in with setting powder and adding bronzer on top. It just is so easy to work with, it really is. And now taking my Guerlain concealer into all the areas where I like to brighten up, just chisel up that contour line a bit and just brighten other areas. Now I'm going to jump ahead to blush. I will be showing you a Rare Beauty blush. They have been my favourite blushes this month. And when I tested them all out, I did show you what Happy looked like if I put the liquid on first and then the Happy on top, the powder, which is the way I personally prefer to wear the new powders. I really like them more as a topper over the liquid. So I'm going to do Joy today, which is my other favourite shade. Now this is very strong on me, especially when I've got a pale base. So I'm going to tap a little bit of the Joy onto the back of my hand. And then using my BK109 brush, that's all I've got on my hand, I'm just going to blend this out on my hand. And then hopefully not have much on the brush. There. That's perfect. And do the same on the other side. And then I'll go in with my beauty blenders for each side, as they're different, and just go around the edges. And before I apply anything else, I just wanted to quickly do a transfer test of the two foundations, because when I tested the Tom Ford transfer, absolutely nothing came off, which I'll do now. I've got a clean face cloth. I'm doing here where I haven't applied any of that blush, and there's the tissue, absolutely blank. So if I do the other side on the MAC, let's see if I get any transfer with that. That is also blank. So I'm getting no transfer from these before I even powder. But I would say the Tom Ford side does dry down faster. It doesn't feel as dry today, and that is because of the base I've put in. I think you can definitely see that Ole Henriksen coming through, which I particularly like because I think it really improves the way these foundations work on me, and I do like that radiance from beneath. Really do actually. Anyway, I will now go in with the setting powder, which I've loved this month. And that is the Hourglass. This is their brand new Airbrush setting powder in translucent light. And I used my own powder puff for this, not the one that came with it, my Trigwell Cosmetics. Now this is a lovely blurring powder. I've really enjoyed this. It gives me the airbrush finish that it promises. It has good longevity, it's good on mature skin, it's not highlighting anything, it's really blurring out and perfecting, so I've really enjoyed this. And it also doesn't give you too much of coverage, so you can still see the blush coming through from beneath, which is what I want. I don't want it to completely get rid of it. It has cancelled out a bit of that nice shine that I was talking about, but as my natural oils come through with that base of the Ole Henriksen, I will still get that radiance, which you'll see probably from my late check-in. So there's my finish with that. I don't like this under the eyes. I think it emphasises lines, but it does work under the eyes. It's not terrible. So if you wanted to try this, it's a very expensive setting powder, but it can do under the eyes quite well. I just prefer the Pat McGrath. But I'm still slightly on the fence if I prefer the YSL or this. I think at the moment this has slightly got the edge over the YSL finishing powder, but I will go back to using that next month so I can keep looking between the two, but neither of them have taken over from my Giorgio Prisme Libre. That's still my #1 setting powder. So now on to powder bronzer, and I have the Armani. This is the Luminous Silk in shade 90, and I've got the RMS Beach Walk Betty. This is their Redimension Hydra Bronze. Now, very hard for me to actually pick out of these two. What I did the other day when I was trying to decide, I actually used the RMS one as my contour and this one as my bronze, and because the RMS is that much cooler, it worked well as a contour. So if by any chance you have them both, these two work together on my sort of skin tone anyway for that purpose, but obviously you don't need both. I genuinely think these both look beautiful, I really do. The more I've used them, especially if I use a fluffy brush, I get a really good finish. The RMS does have quite a glow to it, and there is a little bit of glitter in the Armani, but you don't really see it, you just see a bit of shine, and the Armani just has the edge, just. So that's the one I'll be using today. I've been using my Hourglass Snake brush for this month. It's been really good for that. It's nice and fluffy. Really roll this around in the bronzer because it's so fluffy. And the reason this has taken top spot, one, probably because of the time of year, because it literally gives you a natural tan look instantly. But it also has a way of just perfecting the skin. I think it really does perfect the skin as it goes on and gives you a lovely perfected base. Now it's really showing up on me because I've got this Tom Ford and MAC light shade on today, my lightest shade. So this is showing you when I put quite a lot on, just how much it gives me. So it's going to turn me into a very tanned person here. And this is an example of when you're wearing tan, for me, why you don't need to go up in your foundation. You don't need to match your tan. You can carry on wearing your winter shade foundation, and you can just use a bronzer like this to really match your tan. In fact, it's not matching my tan now because I haven't topped it up as much, but if I put my tan on later, which I probably will be doing actually, then it will match my tan. And I'm just going in with the brush I used for the Rare Beauty Joy. Virtually nothing on it, there's a tiny bit just to sort of bring back that shade of joy. I didn't add any product at all doing that. That just shows how powerful these liquid blushes are from Rare Beauty, and also shows how well they work with powder as well. Now I did try out the brand new Hourglass Ambient Lighting palette this month, and the bronzer in this also would have come in a very, very close second, third to these. This is beautiful, and so with these blushes, but these are not new shades for me. I've tried these before. This one in particular is absolutely stunning. So this is something I'd probably reach for more than the Rare Beauty, if I'm really honest, if I had to choose. But because these shades aren't brand new, it's not my favourite. I can't really say it's my favourite, but this palette is new, if you see what I mean. So now I have the Joy blush, and I'm going in with the Rare Beauty brush that actually is sold with these powders. I'm trying to be quite sparing with this, and I'm going to take it more as a topper. Now these do tend to work as highlighters pretty much, so I don't want to go mad because I do want to try a highlighter. And I have found when I tested these and used the brush, I ended up switching to my favourite blush brush from Refa, but I have actually found the more I've tested these that using this brush is better because it seems to pick it up in a way that distributes it more, I don't know, just more evenly without it looking quite as wild, because they are quite powerful and they can be a bit too much. But when I use the correct brush that comes with it, well, I say comes with it, you have to buy it, but that's, you can buy, it says on the side, I don't know if it says it on this brush, but it does actually say on the side that it is for their blush. It does seem to apply better. So that's about as much as I can build it up on me. You could go so much more, but that's enough for me. And you can just see how beautiful this is. This is such a perfect summer base for me now. I've got this Armani bronze glow and it's given me the tan that I don't have, and then I've got this with the Joy. I think this coral shade is very summer friendly. So for highlighter, this was the hardest one for me. I have been changing my mind about this one all month, which one would be my favourite. So one of the ones I tried was the Fenty. Now this one is a nice highlighter, but it's probably my least favourite out of the ones I've tried, and the reason for that is that it's just way too powerful. I'll just show you on the back of my hand. This one for me shines from the heavens, and I find it just way too much. It is beautiful, but too much, and the only way I can get this to work is if I really buff it out. So once I've buffed it out, I think it's beautiful, but without buffing out, I think it's way too much. So for that reason, it's not my favourite, because it just needs that much more work. If you use it on your eyes, it's very pretty, and the shade I just showed you now is actually the lightest Pretty Pearls 01. And the Natasha Denona Beautifier, which I have in the shade 01 Light. This one also hasn't made it to favourites, but this was the one probably the closest to getting there. This one is so natural. I think this is one of the most natural highlighters I've tried. I think it's probably one of the most mature skin friendly highlighters I've tried. I know when I swatch this, it actually looks a little bit like the Fenty, because I did this in another video, but trust me, it is just so much more subtle and natural. You can put this on just with your fingers, you can apply it with a brush, you can apply it in many ways. It's extremely user friendly, you don't need to work hard with it, it really is lovely. But this is just not quite as special as the one I've chosen as my favourite. But the other thing with this, which I have enjoyed, is when I tried it all over the face using the Natasha Denona serum, the High Glam I think it's called, I've got it here on my desk, High Gem, sorry, using the High Gem serum with it. And when I put the two together, it gives you that very glowy base, which is too much. But when I then used her concealer only, no foundation, I got a very natural look, and I loved it actually. So it hasn't made it to my favourites because that's not a look that I tend to do very often. But if I was going to go for a natural look, that would be definitely up there. If I was ever going to do a top 5 of natural bases, I think that would absolutely be up there as one of the best natural bases, using this with the concealer. So I do think this is a fabulous product, and I really recommend trying it, but it hasn't made it into my #1 spot this month, and that's just because there's been so many good releases. Now this one could easily go into my #1 spot, easily, and that's the one from the Ambient Lighting palette, and this is the highlighter, and this one is called, let me just check, the Metallic Strobe Powder Celestial Strobe Light. This is gorgeous. This looks incredible on the eyes. I've loved using this palette. I just did this in fact yesterday again. I did this when I tried it on in a review video, which you'll find on my channel. So I used the bronzer in the crease, and then either of these two all over the lid, and then take this highlighter all across the lid. And as a highlighter, it is absolutely perfect. It is stunning. This is not a new shade, but it's new to me because I don't have it in any of my current palettes. So it's worth checking out these shades and seeing if you have any of these, because this is a gorgeous selection and definitely one of the highlights of my month. But I'm not going to choose this highlighter based on the fact it's not new, as I also said with these blush. It's not fair, I think, to say they're my favourite when they're not actually new. But this product itself, absolutely amazing, love it. And if you don't have these shades, this is lovely. I got this in, I think it was Harrods it was available, so I definitely have it linked below for you anyway. So my #1 highlighter for this month is the Dior Glow. Now these are not new, but this shade is new. This one just launched this month with all of the summer releases from Dior, and you'll find a full review of all of those here on my channel. Now this one is in the shade Nude. I've loved all of these since I tried them, but this nude one is my favourite by a mile actually. This one will go with any look. It's very, very neutral, so you can add it to any look. The others are all coloured, so you have, you know, like rose and peach, so you need to match it to your look. But this one, you do need to work quickly with them, so you need to be a bit careful. And one thing I've learned is not to put it on both cheeks. But let me just show you what this looks like. Now obviously I've got an incredible glow off the Rare Beauty, and in all honesty I wouldn't go for more. But I want to show you just how easy this is to blend, how naturally it blends out, and the glow it gives me is just look at that. I just, every time I put it on, I'm just wow. I think this is exceptional, and this is on top of powder. It's just giving me that, oh, that wet, glowy, natural finish. It blends out so perfectly. You know, sometimes with highlighters, no matter how much you blend it, you feel like you've got a line. This is, oh, it's just beautiful. I love this. Do the same on this side. I'm being quite generous with it, as you can see, and it's just a question of working straight away. I'm tapping, especially because I've got so many products on. Definitely tap this in. Don't brush across the face, don't sweep across the face, because you will, with it being wet, remove everything underneath. If you tap it in quickly, you can see that it's blended in. I know a lot of people are saying this doesn't, and you can still see the dots, but can you see now there are no dots, and this is on top of powder. It's just that quick application. And this brush, the BK Beauty 109, is the only brush I would trust for this job. I've got a backup of this brush. It is one of those brushes I couldn't live without. If they ever stopped making it, I'd be in trouble. Again, all brushes are linked below as well for you. So I have given myself a massive shine because that's gone on top of the Rare Beauty. So I'm just going to go around the edges again with my beauty sponge, which is still carrying a little bit of the foundation. Now, one new product which I haven't tried on my channel at all is the e.l.f. bronzing drops. I'm not actually a big fan of e.l.f. bronzing drops, but one thing I just wanted to show you today is this is quite good when you want to just quickly, without using a tan, have a tan in the neck area if you wanted to match the sort of tan vibe that I've got today, neck to face. So I use a little bit of moisturising cream. I put that into the palm of my hand, and then I've got these drops in the shade Rose Gold. So I put a couple of these drops onto the moisturiser. One thing I'd say is so hard to squeeze this out. I mean, my thumbs as I get older are so weak anyway, but it's so hard to squeeze it out, so I don't like that. So that's a decent squeeze there of the drops, and then mix it together. And then I'll just put it straight over my neck area, which will go red at first because my skin here reacts as I apply any product. It doesn't like being touched, so it will all look a bit angry for now. I have applied this directly and it's just too deep, and it also doesn't blend out very nicely, so I think it's a lot nicer when you mix it with a cream. Here's how it looks on the back of my hand if you want to see the sort of shade you get when you mix it. Now I'll just take it on my neck and then just use a foundation brush to sort of blend this out a bit more neatly. So as you can see, I've got a bit of colour now, but it's also quite bright red. Ignore that, it will calm down. But yeah, these bronzing drops, I don't like them as a base. I just don't think they work very well. If I do put them on and then I add all my products like foundation or powder on top, you can't see it anyway. So for me, I haven't tried them on the very top. Maybe I could use them as a bronzing cream. Maybe that would work better, but that's the only use I found for them, is they're quite good at matching the neck if you don't want to apply a long lasting tan. So this at least washes off if you don't want it to last. So maybe if you're just going out in the evening and you want a little bit of a bronzy glow, that's quite a good option. So you could also do that on the arms and shoulders and anywhere that's visible that you want that bit of colour. So they're quite good for that, and they're also a lot cheaper than buying the alternatives like Drunk Elephant, which I haven't actually tried. I like to try new products from e.l.f. because it's one of the affordable brands that I do tend to enjoy. So I did pick that one up to try, and I just wanted to show you that's what I've been using it for. So now onto eyeshadow palettes. Now there's 3 eyeshadow palettes I tried this month, which all come in as my favourite. So I've just got to pick one of the 3 favourites. They're all tied as favourites, to be fair. And the first one is this one from Dior. This was with their summer release. This is 933 Pastel Glow. I particularly love this shade here, this lilac-y shade. And this one here, which is a sort of greeny white shimmer. This, I say green, as you can't see much green, but it's got a mint fleck in it. This is beautiful. I have tried a full look with this. If you want to look at the full release of the Dior summer collection, you'll find that on my channel. I did try this out. This is really beautiful and very easy to work with and gives you a lovely spring/summer look. Really enjoyed this. One of the better ones from Dior that I've tried. And then this one from Viseart, the Paris Reveries. I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced, but anyway, this one I tried out 3 looks with this in my video which uploaded Wednesday this week, and maybe last week when this uploads, but anyway, a few days ago. And this is my favourite shade in it here, this peachy white shimmer metallic. This is gorgeous, but the mattes in this, they just work in seconds. This is phenomenal. I'd almost say this is my number one out of the 3 I'm showing you, because formula wise it's my number one easily. This, you just can't beat Viseart formula. And this colour story, I love it because you can have here, using these shades here, you can have a sort of neutral look, and then using these ones here you can have a peachy look, and then these ones you can have your lilac-y purpley look. And obviously you can mix them together because certainly purple and peach look lovely together, and the same with browns and peaches. So there's so many possibilities for different looks. These here are just perfect for one and done shades. You will get so much use out of this palette. The darkest powder I was able to use as a liner. It's not a particularly deep liner, but it was enough for me if I packed enough on the brush to use as a liner. So, and then you've got your inner corner or transition here, and then these are obviously good for inner corner shades as well. Just beautiful selection of colours. Absolutely adore this. But the one I'm going to give number 1 spot to today, as in the look I'm trying, again not number 1 spot, I shouldn't say that. They're all number 1. Viseart possibly taking top, but anyway, Byredo Mineralscapes. And the reason I'm going to choose this one is just because it is so unique. It's a beautiful palette. If I'm honest, I would prefer it to have more mattes and maybe a little bit more of a wow shimmer, because the shimmers are quite subtle. They're not like the big wow ones. Certainly the Viseart ones give more of that really sparkly, shiny finish. These are definitely more subtle, but it's such a beautiful colour story, and I've had great fun with this. I love the packaging on it, even though it looks terrible on camera, as you can see with all my fingerprints, but it's beautiful packaging. This is absolutely gorgeous. I'm using my Refa 15 Mini, and I'm going to keep this quite simple. I'm going into the matte. There's only 2 mattes in this. This one's called Sun Dried. I need to tap off an awful lot with these, and I'm going to take this into the crease, above the crease, and to the outer V. And then using my Refa 02 Mini, I'm going into the shimmer shade next to it, which is called Low Tide. I'm going to run this one under the eye, bring it up slightly here for a bit of a wing, and using the Refa 15 Mini, going in with the same shade, now deepening up the outer V and bringing it here, starting from the outer third, meeting the first transition shade. For me, this is a really nice choice. Even though it's a shimmer, it's a really nice choice for deepening up if you don't want too much depth, if you want a spring sort of look, which is what I'm going for today. Softening the edges with a clean fluffy brush, and using my Pat McGrath Artistry wand, which I've used for all of their shimmers because I think they really need something to grip onto, plus this gives them more of an effect. And now taking Pink Flame on my finger. This is actually my favourite colour in the whole palette. I thought it would be the greens. I do love the greens. I particularly love this one here, and I love this blue. These are my 3 top colours in this palette for the All Over the Lid shade, and these work very well as one and dones actually. But this one is my favourite. I'm taking this across most of the lid, just leaving a little bit for the inner corner and the very first sort of quarter of the lid empty. And one thing I can say, comparing this to the Viseart, there's a shade like this in the Viseart which is also my favourite, and the Viseart is more friendly on the mature eye. If you see here, it's really emphasising the lines. But anyway, I do still like the finished look. It's worth waiting for the finished look, but I do prefer the Viseart shimmer if I'm honest. And with the Rapha 02, which I've wiped off, I'm going into Mineral, which is the best shade in the palette for me for that inner corner. So I'm going to fill that very first quarter now and start to bring it across to meet this pinky peach. I'm taking it now into the inner corner and under the brow. And now taking my eyeliner brush, I'm going to go into this green deep shimmer here, which is called Matter and Life. I'll use this to line underneath the eye and to tight line across here and just give that sort of deep green, introduce a bit of deep green into the look, which I think is really beautiful actually. I love the way these work together. And then taking it for a little bit of a wing there. That's all I do, but I think that works so nicely with these colours. And just run a little bit of the pinky shimmer underneath so it's matching above with beneath. And that's that final look. I've really enjoyed playing with these colours. I love mixing them all together, and I come up with different combinations every time pretty much, but this is the one I did out of all of the looks I've tried that I like the most, so that's why I'm showing it to you today. I'll just pop some mascara on and be back. So finally I've made it to the end and we're on lips, and this is extremely easy for me. The lip products I will be using that are my favourites easily of the year for me, never mind the month, and that is the Charlotte Tilbury. The Pillow Talk Lip Cheat in Fair is my current #1 lip liner. If you see my lips, the shade I've got now, my natural shade, I've just got a little bit of my lip oil, which does enhance my colour a bit, so they're a little bit more pink, but this is how they always look, because I always wear my Delilah lip oil, and you'll see now. Just look at the colour match for me. So without me touching the rest of my bottom lip, just look how that has perfected the edge of my lip and matched my natural colour so well. It is a little bit deeper, but it just, for me, it gives a very natural looking finished line. This lasts pretty much all day. These really do have longevity. They're creamy, they're easy to apply. Absolutely fabulous. I'd be amazed if by the end of the year I will say anything beats this. Absolutely amazed. And my favourite lipstick is the brand new Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk in Fair. Again, this is just a perfect shade for me. And this is in the Kissing formula, so it's really moisturising. I've just noticed how messy the case on this is, which, apologies, I've just been using this a lot. And I have also been loving the new Plumpgasm from Charlotte Tilbury, particularly the light to medium shade, and the Collagen Lip Bath, again in Pillow Talk Fair. So I like to use both of these on top of the lipstick if I want to have a really finished look. So the Plumpgasm looks beautiful on its own. I've done a full review of these. If you want to find it here on my channel, I did a full Pillow Talk review of all the new launches that came out. They were mostly lip products, but I have really loved them. I get about 2 hours, I'd say, out of Plumpgasm. It really does give me a lovely finish, and it is fine on its own, particularly with the lip liner though. The two on their own, but it is very nice on top of this, but it is a slightly deeper shade, so it does change the colour, which is why today I'm going to show you with the Collagen Lip Bath. So this again was released in 3 new shades. There was the Pillow Talk already out, but they've released it in Fair and Medium and I've forgotten the name of it now, the very strong Pillow Talk basically. So I did get all of those and they're all very nice, but the Fair, funnily enough, is my favourite. And this also works very nicely on its own, just with the liner, but I love the way this looks on top of the lipstick. It's quite a thick lip oil. It really does help the lipstick to last a lot longer. This one is not one of the ones that has a tingly sensation like the Plumpgasm, which has a very strong, cool tingly sensation. This one does have a slightly minty taste and vibe to it, which you can feel, but not tingly. Just I love these, I really do like these. So that is a full lip of Pillow Talk Fair, and that is my finished face. I'll just pop some Charlotte Tilbury setting spray, and to finish up I like to go in with a really fluffy brush and go with my Airbrush setting powder and just lightly coat over everything. This really keeps things locked in, just a light bit, and takes the shine down a bit that the setting spray has given me. So there's my full face of my favourites this month. I've really enjoyed all of these, but I won't sign out and say goodbye to you because I will do an 8-hour check-in, which I would never normally be doing on a favourites video, but because I tried out the Tom Ford against the MAC today with that OULAC Henriksen, which is something I've not tried before on the channel, I thought you might be interested in a check-in. So I'll come back in 8 hours and then we'll sign off. Hi everyone, so I'm back with an 8-hour check-in for you, and the only thing I've changed on my face is I actually added the Plumpgasm because obviously my lipstick had completely gone. So this is the Pillow Talk Light, not Pillow Talk, the Plumpgasm Light to Medium. So this is how it looks, and I didn't add liner because I still had a fair bit of liner from this morning, which, as I told you, the longevity is fantastic. So that's all I've had to do. I haven't powdered, I haven't touched it, I haven't corrected anything, so the eyeshadow has stayed put completely, even the powder under the eyes, which is fantastic. So I think the setting spray helps with that as well, because it all just gets in, it does lock in. And obviously powdering at the end, because this powder does tend to move, but I think you can probably see that nothing has moved at all on my eyes. But the important test today really was the foundation. And what I can say right now is, using this exact formula, if you want to call it that, which was the OULAC Henriksen base, and then using the sponge to apply, which is something I didn't do in my initial review of either of these foundations, and then setting spray, which I always do, and the powder on top. So it is well locked in, but this is definitely the best longevity I've had out of either of them, the best final result I've had of either of them, because the caking is extremely minimal, almost non-existent on the Tom Ford side. And when I say caking, I mean I'd always get a tiny bit of caking just by there. And I think on the Tom Ford side, if you look, you just can't really see anything at all. It's the best application I've ever had. It is starting to collect a little bit here in the lines and cake a little bit around there. This is something that happens with everything, but it's extremely minimal. Now the caking is almost the same on this side, tiny bit worse. Now this is the MAC side, and I think you can probably see there's a little bit more radiance coming through this side, but I don't know now, maybe it's not. Yeah, there is a bit more on this side. There always was a bit more all day on this side, so I think that shows that even with a glowy base, the Tom Ford foundation just mattifies that bit more. But you can see the oils have come through, which is what I found when I tested this the first time without the OULAC Henriksen underneath. So I wanted the oils to come through, and I think they've come through in a really nice way. I love the way this is sitting. In fact, I prefer it. This is what I said this morning. It does tend to change and that bit of radiance comes through. But what I haven't got is any oils. I've got no oils at all. I don't need to powder. It's not sticky. It's just a little bit of natural radiance. And there's really not an awful lot of difference, you know, between MAC and Tom Ford, apart from MAC is, I think it was £36, maybe around that price anyway, and Tom Ford £120. So well worth thinking about if you like this sort of finish and you've got combination mature skin like mine, because there's really not that much in it. But what I can say is, when I look in mirrors generally throughout the house, and when I ask my husband, the Tom Ford side just has a more perfected appearance. I don't know if that comes across on camera. Under these lights and in the mirror, it almost looks the same to me, but when I look in mirrors, from different angles, I'm always struck by the sort of airbrushed effect I seem to get on the Tom Ford side. So my husband said you can see where the money is on your face, literally, and for him to notice that, he said he could see the radiance coming through. He said you're more shiny, that's the way he worded it, on my MAC side, and you just look more perfect on your Tom Ford side. So I suppose it's doing what it's supposed to, isn't it? But I've got to say I'm really pleased with both of them. So if I had to pick a winner, yes, it's Tom Ford, but considering the price, MAC is fantastic. So for me they're both winners, because MAC is going to be a real go-to for me for every day, and Tom Ford will be my special occasion, but they're both wearing fabulously, and I think I just needed the right base, which wasn't a primer. I tried it with primer, I tried it without primer. Without primer was actually my best look so far, and now the best one is definitely with this OULAC Henriksen. So something in that, I think I'll be using that with every foundation now to see how it goes. So that is the end of my roundup. I have really enjoyed April. It's been the best month of the year so far. To be fair, it's been a fabulous year for makeup. I've had so many hits with things I've tried this year so far, but I think there's just been more of them. This has been the hardest one for me to pick favourites, because there's just too many good ones. It's not fair to pick one over the other, as you've seen. So I would love to hear from you. What did you buy from my favourites in this video? And which ones might you be getting in the future? Are you tempted by? What did you think of everything that I loved, or do you have different opinions? I would love to hear from you what your thoughts are. Maybe you hate some of the things I love, or maybe you love some of the things I don't love. So it'd be really nice to hear from you and hear all those sort of different opinions, because obviously we all have different skin and we all have different opinions and tastes, so it's great to chat about that. So I'd love to hear that in the comment section down below. And if you're not subscribed, I would like it so much if you did subscribe, and if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for returning, and I hope to see all of you for my next video. Take care everybody, bye!